to you in a while. It's been wild, wild times.
It
How about
really
you?
has for me as well. I've seen more miracles in the last 6 weeks than in 21 years of practice. So I'm excited to talk to you about it.
I'm excited to hear about it. Hey, welcome to my world. Remember when on the first time I met you, I said, listen, I wake up to a miracle inbox every single day. And I think sometimes when I say that, people think I'm like kidding. And I'm like, no, no, no. Actually, I wake up to a miracle inbox. And so once people start experiencing it, like you're experiencing it now, they're like, it's no joke, Renita. Like you were absolutely 100% serious when I said that. So, okay, just first of all, tell everybody a little bit about yourself. Everybody here, I think, pretty much knows me. I'm Renita. I'm from Bismarck, North Dakota. If you're on this, you're more than likely on our team or Dr. Atlee's team. We love helping to educate people with LifeWave so they can make the very best decision for their health and their wealth, because we believe in financial freedom, health freedom, because the healthier you are, the more financially independent you are. Guess what? You are harder to control by the government.
That is
So,
true.
Dr. Atlee, tell them about you.
Oh, well, thank you. My name is Dr. Atlee Wampler, and I practice and live in Atlanta, Georgia. I've been in healthcare practice for just about 22 years now. 22 years now. And I specialize in regenerative medicine. And we've been experimenting and utilizing these LifeWave patches now for 6 weeks. And the last time I talked to Miss Renita, I had not even had my first experience with the patches, and yet had spoken to so many people personally, hearing amazing testimonies of so many people who suffer from so many different types of ailments, that, as I told you, Miss Renita, last time we spoke, the real test was going to be with mom and dad, because everything had failed with them.
Yeah.
And it,
Well,
it
first of
was
all, let's
just
just say this for a second.
wonderful.
You had even tried um, the stem cell injections, right? Because that's your clinic. That's what you guys do, is you do
Correct.
stem cell injections. And
Yes,
I just
ma'am.
want to make sure everybody can hear us. I think that we can. Somebody said she can't hear, but I think it's on her end. So if you guys can hear, just comment in the messages that you can hear Dr. Atlee and myself here. Yeah, so you had tried the actual stem cell injections with your aging parents. And
Yes.
unfortunately, not a huge result, or not long lasting, or what happened?
They were fantastic results, but we find that over time, the regenerative effects begin to wear back off. And I tell people it's just like retreading a tire. And once you get to retread the tire, you go and you use it and you drive on it. And in my parents' instances, they like to live life, and they did. And so while that doesn't necessarily correct biomechanical issues, it gives quality of living and relief from pain and the restoration of function until you degenerate that again orthopedically. And so this has been the experience repetitively over a series of years. But my mother specifically was in a lot of pain, and she was getting a variety of different types of injections and treatments, and really was failed with everything that insurance had to offer, and everything that insurance doesn't cover. We have the ability to deliver, and yet those results weren't permanent. And so our experiment that first day when the patches came in, I inquired about my mother's well-being by noon, and because I didn't want to be too anxious. And she had, first of all, she had tried the sleep patches, the Silent Night sleep patches, that first night as her introduction to the LifeWave products, and got her first night of sleep in literally decades. It's been a real problem for her. And of course, that's where healing begins. You cannot heal if you're not sleeping.
Right.
And so that kind of set the stage. And then the next morning, we started with an X39 and an AEON combination. And then clocked in the LifeWave pain patch. And for her, without even my having to give her at the moment instructions, she was able to dial in for herself and have 80% pain relief within a minute. And that's really clinically not very common. And so her words to me were in all capitals, amazing. And for my mother to say that, it's only through experience, because literally for her, everything else had failed. So where I got to hear all those wonderful testimonials, but needed something for myself, really, I needed something from my parents. By the grace of God, both of them got wonderful relief very quickly.
Awesome.
And my father, I just got a chance to see my dad. His, much like your father, my dad has venous return problems and has a lot of damaged blood vessels in the lower leg, and has ever since, well, at least for the last 3 decades, has had brown legs with pitting edema, and status dermatitis is the proper terminology, but brown dysfunctional pooling of the blood, and that leads to all sorts of different health complications. But with the Aeon X39 combination, his swelling has completely reduced. And with the LifeWave pain patches, he's gotten, once again, next to instantaneous relief, which as an acupuncturist, I can understand how these things happen, but clinically in the field, to see this with such a broad spectrum of people, and everyone else that I have introduced these patches to, it is really extraordinary. And it's now we have a tool that is dependable, that we can use with confidence, to, especially clinically, to help patients get out of pain with extraordinary quickness. And I don't say it happens for everybody, because I have seen with other people it was took a little bit longer, but I would say about 80% of the people that I've introduced the X39 LifeWave combination to, we've been able to get almost instantaneous relief. And then, of course, that X39 is delivering the healing. So we know we're getting the long-term healing and anti-inflammatory reactions and the relief of pain through the X39. But with the combination of the LifeWave, I got to tell you, that has really dropped a lot of jaws, not only from loved ones and people that I care about, but also other doctors that I've introduced this to in the pain management fields. And so this has been a lot of fun. In the last 6 weeks, it has really lit a fire, and we have seen some wonderful results.
I love it. I love it. Okay, so I want to just say, so I loved how you talked a little bit. For those of you that don't know, Dr. Atlee is like a genius on so many levels. Those of you who have got a hold of me and said, Renita, I suggested a book on social media, changed my life, Healing is Voltage. That was recommended to me by my dear friend Atlee. And he was the one who said, Renita, you got to read this book. And of course, I read it. And I tell others about it. And so you are like an expert of the human body, is what I see you like. You trained as a chiropractor, but as you said, trained as an acupuncturist, very much into regenerative medicine with stem cell therapy and therapeutics, dealing with that. And so what is the main difference that you see that is going on with these patches versus all the other modalities of treatment and healing that you've used over the years?
I would say the main difference is the expediency in the result.
Fast as lightning.
And especially with the ability to combine different patches. So I've had the good fortune to be introduced to some phenomenal minds in the LifeWave company, and very quickly have tried to get up to speed to present day practice on how to apply these most effectively. And that includes not only utilizing the patches, but utilizing them in different combinations. And then sometimes, and you even gave the idea originally in the application with your dog after its unfortunate car accident, but utilizing multiple patches depending on the severity of the situation. So I've been able to apply what I would consider as the art of patching. And it's really been a lot of fun for me because it's a new application where I don't need needles. And that means that one, I can use these anywhere in the country or anywhere on the planet because we're not doing anything invasive or even transdermal. And then what's even more impressive and more important is that you can use them. My mom can use them. Someone without a medical degree can use these and teach someone else how to help themselves.
Wow.
And it's just been extraordinary. I've introduced this to people, and then of course their parents are having health issues, and then they're introducing them to their parents, and their parents are having these types of relief from pain and the relief from their symptoms of the different ailments that they're suffering from. And so very quickly, I've seen a ripple effect go out across my small community into a second generation layer, to the parents and all of a sudden to neighbors and friends. And what's really been fun about this is that the second thing, I suppose, is the answer to your question, is that the patch is selling itself. I haven't sold anything. All I've done is share it and care to share. And then people have wanted, because of the results, they've wanted to find out how they can get a hold of it for themselves. And so it's been a real joy for me. I've been telling people it's the jujitsu of sales. It's the selling without selling.
That's right. That's right. And so I love that your mom and dad, and I knew they were going to, Dr. Atlee, when the first time I talked to him, like, oh my gosh, your parents need these patches. And I think that we do see quicker results sometimes with the elderly because they do have less stem cell activity. So let's just talk about that. And it's not that it's not going to work for young people. Atlee's healthy, I'm healthy, but guess what? I still have a result from wearing these patches, right? I think of myself as just being a total health mom. Seriously. But I too have a result from wearing the patches. I recover faster. I sleep deep. It's just incredible when I wake up feeling rested. I don't have to get up 3 or 4 times at night to pee anymore. I'm not sure what that was about, maybe kidney stuff. But I am like on the upswing, feeling amazing. So why does it seem to work faster for sometimes those people that are, let's say, over the age of 50?
Well, I would say that it's the same physiological effect of the reason why even a corticosteroid or even an anti-inflammatory has such a pain relieving effect, is because with the more degeneration, even just a little bit of anti-inflammatory effect can have a massive reduction in pain,
right,
and the restoration of range of motion. Well, the wonderful thing about this is, amongst other things, is not only the instantaneous, when you put this onto your body, I tell people, and we were speaking about circuitry and electrics, Healing is Voltage, that book right there, which is so important for people to understand how the body truly works on a cellular energetic level. And they're not teaching that in medical school. They're not teaching that, unfortunately, in chiropractic school. And so once again, it's really only the top of the line functional medicine doctors who have discovered this due to necessity, oftentimes trying to heal themselves or a loved one, that they get into these energetic therapies. But activating the copper peptide mechanism, or pathway, I should say, has an instantaneous anti-inflammatory effect.
Wow.
We were just I was talking to a group of people who were asking me the difference about that or wearing a copper bracelet. or wearing copper. And of course, I'm very familiar with functional jewelry and jewelry that can be applied that will enhance your energetics. But this flips a very specific pathway. The harmonics that are emitted from the patch activate the GHK-Cu copper peptide pathway, which has rejuvenative effects beyond activating stem cells. But one of them is the enhancement of the copper creates electromagnetic fields within the body. And as you now know, those electromagnetic fields help to energize the mitochondria of the cell, which is the powerhouse of the engine of the cell. Most people's degenerative diseases are really mitochondrial problems, where the cells are not able to function the way they're designed to. It's an energetics problem. And of course, we talked about how when a cell diminishes in voltage, that it loses the ability not only to repair and regenerate itself, but then it begins to lose the ability to function. And eventually it loses its structure, and structure dictates function. So when we get to that electromagnetic reversal of charge from the negative charge to the positive, and the cell deforms, that's where we get a whole series of named disease, cellular disease processes. But really what it is it's an energetics problem. And so one of the things that copper, and especially the copper peptide pathway, does not only reactivates the stem cell pathways, but it enhances your electromagnetics. And I was put on the X49, X39 combination and have been on it now for 6 weeks. And some of my personal effects that I notice, amongst other things, is energy. To say energy enhancement would not do true justice, because as someone who practices intermittent fasting, I would always bonk somewhere at the 12-hour, and definitely would have to push into the 14 or 16-hour realm of trying to, get to that cell autophagy stage, which is so important in the regenerative effects of intermittent fasting. Well, man, the moment I started wearing these 2 patches, I have to either make myself eat in the late afternoon, or I'm not eating until evening after jujitsu, because my metabolism is roaring.
Yeah.
And I can feel, if I would be very interested in getting some Carillion photography pre and post, utilizing these patches, showing the effects on your aura, because it has to be enhanced. And this Nordic Viking has experimented twice in the last month, going out to the rivers of North Georgia and being out in the sunlight that would normally have flash fried me. And I had no residual sunburn or skin effects.
So David talks this, right?
He
X39
does.
and X49. So it almost helps mitigate the EMFs. It helps with the UV frequencies, right, of light. And so people that have white, fair skin are not burning. And if they do get sunburn, they're telling me like in 2 days it's gone, and typically they'd be battling for 14. And so the majority of people I talk to have not had the sunburns like they once did. But also EMF mitigation. David Schmidt said that 49 is like a Faraday cage over the body. And you and I could talk all day, because I don't think that there was a virus. I think that it was radiation poisoning, and it continues to be radiation poisoning. And of course, when your cells are trying to detox from that, you get symptoms. Sure. Welcome to the jungle. And so this is what I think a big thing of what we saw. So just wearing the 49 not only because muscle recovery, blood flow, bone density, but as a proactive protection against EMF for me is a big deal, Dr. Atlee.
I think so too, Renita, and that's so great. I knew we were. I didn't want to come in with an agenda. I just wanted to let the spirit take this conversation as it did the first one. But you're absolutely right, and you hit on a topic that I was just speaking to Dr. Nick Cavanelli.
Yeah, Dr.
About,
Nick, he's yeah.
And you know, the Lord provides the right things at the right time.
Right.
And it has been proven that different radio frequencies can actually activate latent viruses that would actually exist in all of our tissues, right? But that get suppressed by a number of different immune factors in our body. But being exposed to different frequencies can actually activate those latent viruses within us. And so it's kind of a Trojan horse effect. And it's one of the concerns globally that some scientists have about the effects of 5G radiation on the human body, because as we discussed 6 weeks ago, DNA is actually a phonon-photon receiver and transmitter. So, sound and light, it receives it and it transmits it. And so we are very susceptible to frequencies, sound and light, in specific wavelengths. And of course, 5G is right smack dab in the middle of the frequency that activates our DNA. So it is very important that when you pick up a cell phone, you're mindful of that. And there are devices to mitigate harmful radiation on the cell phone. But now the X49, and definitely in combination with the 39, seems to be one of those mitigating modalities, because I always have great aversion to my cell phone, and I always use it on speakerphone, and I hate to pick it up. And yet, wearing these patches, I find myself talking and holding it, where I had never done that before. In fact, I've been instructed, and I teach people absolutely do not. And yet, innately, since I've been wearing these patches, I find myself holding the phone. And so I find that interesting, because based upon the information that you just spoke of and that Dr. Schmitz revealed to us, I believe it definitely has that Faraday type effect.
Yeah. I mean, and again, if you're on here watching us and you're brand new to this, welcome to the fun. This has been a blessing. We should tell you the patch doesn't treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
Thank you.
Of course, you have to have a physician's desk reference that I like to bring out from 2002, because that's when I was utilizing this, called Thick This Is. You know, this is a big book. Healing is Voltage is a big book, right, Atlee? Look at the difference in price. So this is the 2002 PDR that I was cleaning out my library, and I thought, oh, I got to use this as a visual. And, you know, now it's 2023. So we got 20 years. In fact, they don't even make a hard copy anymore. Do you guys know why? It would be too big. You couldn't even carry it around. It would be 50 pounds. You could lift it. And so, but no worries. All the things in here, they can tell you that it's going to treat, cure, and prevent disease. No problemo, right? But the patch, we can't tell you it's going to treat, cure, prevent disease. So I just want to say that to you guys. All we're doing is restoring, I like the word harmonics, restoring harmonics of the body, the energy flow of the body, restoring literally how the body is designed to function by God. By the way, both myself and Dr. Atlee are big believers in Jesus Christ as our Lord and Savior. So when you say the word aura, for all the Christians in the room that had a knee jerk, let's just talk about that for a second. I think the Christians have been really dumbed down and really lied to about their ability to heal through light, through frequency, through sound. In fact, a lot of times people think it's occultic. And I'm like, no, occultic is actually pharmacopoeia that's listed in the book of Revelation that says we'll be deceived, all of the world will be deceived by pharmacopoeia. But don't get me started with that. But so I feel like just the energy, frequency, aura, when you're using that word, Dr. Atlee, It's really interesting. Yesterday, I took my mom to this guy down in South Dakota because we're always continuing to seek solutions for mom, right? She's doing really awesome, but you can always be better. And I went to this guy and I said, how did you know he had this gift? He lives on a horse ranch and he moves the horses energetically. He's like a kind of a horse chiropractor, but then does all this energy work. And then he also does people. So he does like 18 horses a day and like 10 humans a day. And this guy, I said, how'd you know you had it, this gift? And he said, well, when I was high school, he said, I used to see people's auras.
Mm-hmm.
And we started meeting on this whole conversation, and he went on to tell my mom, like, he didn't know anything about my mother, you guys. I didn't do any kind of filling out of any survey or nothing. He laid his hands on my mom. He laid his hands on me too, and he like nailed it. And I was like, I didn't fill out an intake form. How did he just know that? And so there are these energetic healers. Dr. Atlee, I believe you are one of them as well, that understand energy, that understand frequency. But let's talk for a second to the Christians in the room and why they might be nervous about the word aura or frequency or any of these types of healing. Why might the Christians be nervous? And then how can we ease their fears?
Wonderful. The reason why you're nervous is because you've never heard of it before. And so, anytime something new comes into your awareness, obviously, first skepticism, and then two, you should judge all things by Scripture, right? And ultimately, with the Holy Spirit, take it to the Lord, right? But yes, you could say that these are occultic in that they have been hidden, and occult means hidden. And yes, they have been hidden from the populations for thousands of years because of many aspects. But speaking to my Christian brothers and sisters, can you hold up that Healing is Voltage one more time, please?
Yeah.
So thank you. I was the last time I was in Israel, and I had the good opportunity and good fortune to serve both in Israel as well as in Palestine. And I came back my last time and I was in prayer. I asked the Lord what he wanted me to do, which way he wanted me to go. I was definitely at a crossroads. And he led me to that book. Wow. It was so foreign to me. It was the antithesis of my musculoskeletal practice. And it was leading me into the functional medicine realm. And so first and foremost, I'll tell you that the Lord led me to that book and led me to energy healing. And ultimately, it's because it's truly what we are made from. It's truly how we work. But we have not been taught this. And only now, once again, in this quantum age, in the fig tree generation, are we now at the understanding with string theory and in quantum physics to begin to understand how the universe truly works. When the Lord created by speaking, that is a resonant frequency, and frequencies create geometry. Geometry creates structure. Structure creates function. And this is truly how the universe is created. My son is in right now learning the periodic table and all the different elements. But as I point out to him, take a look at the top of each element, and there is a number and a charge on each one of those, either positive or negative. And ultimately, it is that electromagnetic repulsion or attraction that holds all things together. And the electromagnetics of the body cellularly is no different than as we talked about before, a Duracell battery that must maintain a specific charge to be able to function the way you want it to. And we also talked last time that much like your cell phone, as your cell phone drains in its battery charge, the non-vital apps begin to get dropped to maintain battery charge for the most vital apps. And that's
let's liken that right to the body, Atlee. How is that just like the body? So the thing that probably protects is your heart keeps beating, barely.
That's right. That's right, because that is electromagnetic.
Yeah,
We dropped the microphone last time saying the only organ that doesn't get cancer is
the heart.
right. And the reason is
Because it's like what is it? Because it's the most voltage. It has the
that's
best.
correct.
Yeah. So it's like it's the last thing that's going to go, right? That's when people have heart failure, right?
That's
or
right.
whatever. But at the end of the day, so I have a great analogy for all this. My mom's car, she was been at my house for like a week and hadn't driven her car, and we went out to start it, and she must have left something on because it was dead. The car was dead. And I said, oh, let's jump grandma's car. Well, I have a Honda hybrid. I love it. It gets like 63 miles to the gallon. It's not electric, but it drives under 40. It's no problem. But when it starts to get cold, we need gas, because in North Dakota, if you just have a hybrid, you're going to freeze to death. Okay, so anyway, or if you have just an electric car. Anyway, so it goes to gas real quick. But
you mean it won't start?
It never has had problems starting, but what happens is when you turn the heat on high, it can't run on electric. It automatically switches over to gasoline. Anyway, that's a whole nother story. But anyway, I love my Honda because like sometimes I literally get 60 miles to the gallon. But anyway, long story short, my husband hooks the Honda up to grandma's car, but because my Honda is a hybrid, and as long as I'm under 40 miles an hour and the heat's not on, it's electric. Okay.
Yes.
I know. So you can see where this is going. So we hook the jumper cables onto my Honda, and Scott goes, it's really weird. There's not even a spark. Like sometimes there's like a spark. He's like, there's no spark. And we hooked to grandma's, and I mean, we let it sit on there for like 15 minutes. The car wouldn't even turn over. It was like the Honda couldn't charge my mom's little car. And I was like, that is so weird. And I was like, oh, it's like, I likened it to that it didn't have like all of the elements to be able to jumpstart my mom's car. So then Scott goes, well, maybe your grandma's battery is completely dead. We pulled up my son's truck, put it on, like a second later, see the sparks, turn it over, fires up. And I said, oh my gosh, I can't jumpstart anybody's car with my Honda. Because, so I was thinking about this whole thing and comparing it to the human body.
Yes.
How when people put the patch on and they're kind of sputtering and they're kind of getting tired and they're kind of getting, some people get stiffer and sore, right, Atlee? Like they don't feel as well. They were like, oh, I need to rest more. I've got a headache. I've got this. I liken it to my Honda hybrid trying to charge grandma's car. It's not working. When we put electrolytes in the body, it's almost miraculous.
Yes.
It's literally like the spark. So let's talk about that, the importance of when they're patching and electrolytes, because I think I answer 35 inbox messages plus a day. And pretty much it says you need electrolytes.
Yes.
I mean, it's like, and we're already deficient as a country. And I feel like the pull on our energetic systems is being greater because of all the stress responses going on, physically, chemically, energetically, all that stuff. So I feel like we're like the need for electrolytes is even greater to protect the cell. So what do you think?
No, it's absolutely correct. And that's the spark of life, right? That's in fact, that's the name of the chapter in Healing is Voltage. He calls, Dr. Tennant calls minerals and electrolytes the spark of life. And that's what it is. It's the spark plug for the cell. And if you don't have that, you will feel diminished and drained because your light bulb has been dimmed and you don't have the current to flow through because you don't have the electromagnetics, the energetics to allow for the current flow to take place. Your body's actually screaming for electrons, but the electron can only flow if we have the proper mineral content to create the circuitry. And one of my mentors who did all of the circuitry for the Saturn and Apollo rockets makes the claim that you are 5% earth mineral by nature. We are terrestrial beings, straight out of scripture. We are 5% earth mineral. And that 5% earth mineral controls 95% of the neurological circuitry. Wow. So again, it's like going to, in Atlanta, we have a basement. It's like going down to the basement and going to the circuit breaker. If you don't have a proper fuse, then you're never going to get the conductivity of current across to the appliance that needs it. And it's no different in the body. If we don't have the electrolytes, we're never going to get that current to the cells or the organs or the tissues that need it the most. And yes, the body does have an innate intelligence. The body does have an innate healing mechanism. And just as the cell phone uses artificial intelligence to shunt battery to the most important apps to make sure that the cell phone can continue to function, it's just replicating what the human body does innately. And usually it's brain and heart are first on the priority system, and then lungs and liver, and then everything else after that. But really, there is no part of the human body that's not necessary. But, you know, the body will decide to sacrifice a toe to save the brain.
Right.
You know, and then it goes on from there. So especially with circulatory issues, you'll see these issues with diabetics and things of that nature, where they start losing the most distal or the most furthest away limbs. That's because the body's trying to conserve its limited energy for the most vital parts. Right. To keep you alive. So it sacrifices other parts of the body. But if you have the ability to plug yourself in, like the Tesla, like the cell phone, and now we do, by applying these patches, you are literally throwing the switch on in the energetics. You need the proper hydration, because we are supposed to be up to 80% water. So when people say, oh, should I take this supplement or this supplement? I mean, the number one supplement or nutrient that you're lacking is water. And number two, along with that, are your electrolytes. And so those are the most often and the most affordable methods of enhancing your health. And so, yeah, most people are lacking in those.
Yeah, I love it. Thank you for that. Okay, so we have some questions going on over here. Some commentary. Someone says you prefer plant-based minerals over earth minerals. Aren't we designed to utilize them more efficiently than non-organic minerals straight from the earth? So go ahead. You can answer that.
Well, yes.
I think
we are designed to get our minerals.
Plant-based minerals are from the earth. I mean, you guys, it is earth minerals, like everything that comes from the earth. It was funny yesterday with my mom at this gifted healer down in South Dakota. He actually said her head and her sacrum are not keeping an energetic flow. He said, your mom needs grounding. Your mom needs to stand in dirt. He said she needs to do it daily. She needs to stand barefoot in dirt. And I mean, this is what this old guy is telling him. He's like the horse whisperer. As I drove into the ranch, he's got like a horse ranch. And he's like saying, we all need that, but we all need that. We all need the earthing, the grounding, the minerals that come from the earth. Like all of it is a frequency, right? Now, what was interesting is the books that you shared with me, they literally they showed a circuitry like on the back of the neck, Dr. Atlee, under the belly button, which is where we recommend putting X39, right? The base of the neck and then under the belly button. And then also at the bottom of the sternum, like at the xiphoid process there. And so what was so interesting when I saw that in that book and you sent me that very first picture, I'm like, holy Moses, this is where when we put the patches in these places, we feel the very best.
Yes,
so can you talk about that a little bit for all the patch wearers in the house saying, where should I put the patch? I'm like, I would start with those 3 spots.
As directed.
Right.
I mean, that's really honestly one of the wonderful things, one of the many wonderful things about LifeWave is they've got this all mapped out with very easy to use and to follow applications with the illustrations. So just follow the directions. It seems to me the most difficult thing conceptually is the clock technique with the ice, with the ice wave patches. But once you walk somebody through the clock technique, they understand that. The reality is, as we've learned through Dr. Tennett's work and so many others, is that the body really is a series of Tesla batteries. And that, I had the concept, I was talking to Dr. Cavanelli the other day, where remember that in the 80s, those old globes that had the electric sparks coming from the center
Oh,
sphere.
yeah.
It was like called the ionosphere, right?
Yeah.
Really, it mimics our Earth, but we're designed to be standing on that inner bulb where all the electricity shoots out. And lightning, I'm sure lightning goes actually from the ground up, right?
Yep.
And we're designed to actually plug into the ground. We were made from the earth. We're designed to plug into the earth. And yes, ever since, there's so many methods that we detach ourselves from the earth, from sleeping, in elevated beds to wearing rubberized tennis shoes and all these different modern applications of our lifestyle that have literally unplugged us from the energy source. Now, it doesn't help that also we're in the middle of a polar shift. So the Earth's electromagnetism is literally a fraction of what it has historically been. So we're suffering on all accounts. And so really what people need is to be able to plug into these frequencies that the earth naturally emits. We are designed, and our cells are designed to work based upon those frequencies. And NASA knows that once a human being leaves the ground and the further away from the earth into the atmosphere and then out into space, you get further and further away from those earth energies, and your cells begin to do very strange things. And so every astronaut has to have a pulsed electromagnetic frequency device in their spacesuit to replicate the Earth's natural energies, because we are terrestrial. We are from the Earth. And so, yeah, we do need earth and plant-based minerals. The problem is ever since we started lighting off atomic weaponry, and add that to our current agricultural techniques and pesticides and antifungicides, our soils don't have those mineral contents anymore. And really, this is where also the supplementation, I got into a great conversation with a LifeWave partner about the use of medicinal mushrooms, the other aspect of Chinese medicine or Korean medicine that I used to study in combination with the acupuncture itself. You probably read the chapter on fungus and how the ultimate end goal of the fungus is to return organic matter back to its original constituents, its original periodic chart elements. And because of the modern agricultural techniques and antifungal and antibacterial pesticides, the proper fungus can't break down the organic matter anymore,
right,
the way that it should. And so we don't get that humic fulvic acid content in our soils, which our bodies need for the spark of life. So you have to supplement it.
Yeah, we have to be supplementing it. Okay, so I love all this. We could just talk for hours and hours. So some people are on here, they might be brand new with LifeWave and the patches. And actually, while you were talking earlier, Dr. Atlee, I pulled up, if you guys saw that, I actually pulled up patch placement guide. So at your website, or whoever invited you on here, get a hold of them. They're going to help you to get started with these patches at the cheapest possible price. But when you go to the website, you can actually click on patch placement. And when I click on patch placement, all I have to do is do a little drop down box here, and I can click on any one of the patches. Let's say that I want to wear, the energy enhancer patches. It tells you actually where to put them. Boom. See that little guy? it's not even a guessing game. They did it. And this is incredibly, incredibly accurate. I just did a podcast this last week here with Dr. Karen Can, who's been part of LifeWave for 18 years, by the way.
Wow.
Many of you guys know Dr. Karen Can. She does like patching protocols and everything like that. But she said they have made these so incredibly accurate. She said to me that if people would just follow these, instead of worrying exactly where I got to get it, I got to take a course to know where to patch. She said, just follow the patching protocols that they place on there. She said there were 2 incorrect placements. And she went to get a hold of LifeWave and David Schmidt to say, hey, these two are not correct in Chinese medicine. And by the time she got in contact with them, they had changed it on the website already. So someone else was thinking the same thing. She said they're incredibly, incredibly accurate. And so that's such, you know, she's an MD, also Chinese medicine practitioner. And she said, if you're looking for where to put these patches, everybody always asks, go to the website, click on learn, click on patch placement guide. It's right there at the website. Hit the drop down box of whatever patch you want to look at. Maybe you're talking about Eon. Goes down and shows the different areas where you can put Eon. Now, again, this is just, you know, with their clinical evidence and their research, what they found. If you guys find, like I told the other night, my mom, when she puts the Eon patch right here in the middle of her forehead, my goodness gracious, she sleeps like a rock. So for everybody, it's going to be a little bit different. But when in doubt, start with the recommended instructions, like you said, Dr. Atlee. Like that's
Start with
really
the protocol. That's
Start
right.
with the protocol. Start with the protocol. I want to, I'm going to shift gears for a second. So you talked a little bit about the cell. It's all about cell health, right? When our cells are sick, we're sick. When our cells are dead, we're dead.
Yes.
And so we really want good cellular health. And last time we kind of talked a little bit about, and I didn't know what I know now, because I know more now after you taught me to read the books. But the negative 25, the negative 50, where the body can actually restore pretty much of any disease, it sounds like, at negative 50. And then, of course, but when we're negative 25, we're in really pretty decent health. But when it starts to drift up to the negative 20, negative 15, closer to that zero, basically the neutral or the acidity, right? The acidity and the alkalinity, the whole thing is based on that as well. Then we start to get sick. And of course, cancer was a positive to the 30, right? A positive 30 is where cancer, you're going to be exhibiting those symptoms of cancer. So because of the frequencies, can you explain in your background knowledge, just knowing the body, knowing the structure of the body, knowing the physiology of the body, like how is this energetically like positive, negative? How is it working? Can you explain that?
Well, the ingenious is it's working off of your innate energy system. It's working off of your innate thermal heat source, right? And refracting it right back. So I love the story of Dr. Schmidt and the energy enhancer. And at some point tonight, I want to talk to you about that because that is the model of your hybrid Honda. But before we get there, it's important that people understand again that cellular health is no different than your Duracell battery, which is an alkaline battery. And the reason why, once again, we discussed this the other month jokingly, but why Miss Renita's car in the winter in North Dakota won't start is because it gets acid. It is not alkaline. It loses its electrons and it can't start. So she needs a jump to get that battery rolling and to get it alkalinized. And when you get alkalinized, it regains its charge. And there's no difference between that and the cells in your body. And so Dr. Tennant had found that it takes a minimum of 25 millivolts of battery charge in your cells, just like plugging in your Tesla car, like plugging in your cell phone. Your cells need 25 millivolt, negative 25 millivolt minimum charge to function. But it needs twice as much energy to heal and repair. And so it takes negative 50 millivolts. But what that means is that as you get drained of your energy levels without the ability to recharge, you begin to lose the energy to heal without any symptoms at all.
Wow.
And all of a sudden you begin to lose the energy to be able to function. And only then maybe will you begin to become symptomatic. But by the time you become symptomatic, you've lost over 60% of your normal function.
Wow.
So,
say that again.
By the time you become symptomatic, you've lost over 60% of your normal function, which is why it's so important not to treat symptoms and why, most likely to answer your original question, why does the X39 get such great results so fast with the elderly? It's because really, I just got to remove a little bit of inflammation to get you non-symptomatic. But I got a whole lot of work to do to get it healed. and that takes time. And the model of 1 month for every decade, I think, is accurate from what I've seen before you begin to be able to get real life change, systemic physiological life change. But I got to tell you, I've seen it a heck of a lot quicker in the last 6 weeks. It's just extraordinary. And it's literally because the energetics are being enhanced. I told you a little bit about my personal experience with my intermittent fasting. Man, there's a couple days I went clear through to 36, 48 hours without eating, without a problem. And I didn't need to, because I was burning my body fat as energy. And I obviously had the cellular energetics that didn't require me to search out food. Which brings me to this Honda hybrid situation. Is the reality is, as you know, Miss Renita, your body is a flex fuel vehicle. It's designed to run on body fat, and it's designed to run on carbohydrates.
Right. Ketones or sugar.
That's right. But it can't run on both at the same time. Now, you get 28 miles to the gallon on ketones. You get 2 miles to the gallon on carbohydrates.
Yeah.
Which one do you want to run on?
So
the reality is, as humans, we were designed to go periods of time of intermittent fasting without eating. And in fact, to my Christian brethren, I personally have a great fascination with the Dead Sea Scrolls and the Essene community. And it turns out that the Qumran Essenes, amongst other things, practiced herbal medicine as well as intermittent fasting.
Yeah.
And while the average person in that timeline used to live between 30 to 50 years, and the Pharisees would live 50 to 60 years, but the Essenes lived to 120. So I've always been very fascinated. What were the Essenes practicing besides, their knowledge of the scriptures and, being in tune with the Holy Spirit? What were their lifestyle practices? And it turns out that they practice intermittent fasting. It's very interesting. Their lifespans were twice as long. But you're designed to run off of body fat as energy, and you get 28 miles to the gallon, as opposed to the carbohydrate that we're all craving. But you get 2 miles to the gallon, and then you need to refuel again and again. And it's that peaks and valleys that everybody goes through. Yeah. So when I heard about Dr. Schmidt's first toy or tool, the energy enhancer, and how he came about creating that as a peak performance and former professional athlete, I had immediate interest in this, and to try to get it to some of my former teammates who now coach at elite levels, both nationally and internationally. And so my martial art master's daughter had a cross-country meet the other week. And just on a whim, I said, I told her, I have a gift for you. And I gave her one set of the energy enhancers and said, brown on the left, white on the right. And she put it on just before her race, and she set a personal best.
Wow. Come on, Atlee.
And of course, I heard about that experience with all of the 7 swimmers that tested it. And so that gave me the courage to try it with her. She has a personal best. I mean, these patches are bringing out peak performance and optimum health and restoring optimum health. And it doesn't take much to get a real effect, especially when someone's inflamed.
Right. I love that. The energy enhancer, when they said it utilizes fat oxidation, uses your own fat for fuel.
Beta oxidation.
I pretty much went in the back office and hit the buy button.
That's right. Okay? That's right.
Because I don't know about you, and I love fasting, and I do a really balanced approach. My body's super metabolically flexible.
Sure.
Which was my first goal when I started that journey about 3 years ago. But anyway, long story short, so I fast for 48 hours all the time, and the patches definitely assist with that. Just no problem, no cravings, no nothing.
Right.
I feel like I could literally go weeks. You know what I mean? Because I just feel that strong and energized, right? But I'm really an advocate of electrolytes as well. But back to the fat oxidation with these energy enhancers, that's what my son Bo, when he was doing his breaking his own personal records in the 800-meter dash at 23, he put the energy enhancer on each hip.
Yes.
White on the right, tan on the left on the hip. So he was wearing it, like you said, for peak for performance. For me, he had me at fat oxidation.
That's right. That's right. But I honestly believe you're getting that also with the X39. I can't explain this metabolic enhancement any other way. I know I'm burning, which is exactly where I want to be, but I don't have the bonk and I don't have the hunger. And it's really been extraordinary. So I have not yet tried the energy enhancer. I haven't had to with the X4939 combination.
Six of 8 of those swimmers broke their all-time best PRs.
On the first time they wore it.
Yeah,
the first time they wore it.
I think it was 6 of the 8. So there was 8 swimmers.
I thought it was all 7. But yeah, I mean,
6 of the 8. I think it was
statistically, it's not a coincidence, right?
Yeah, it's not a coincidence. So it's like that happened, and I mean, they were qualifying for the Olympic swim team and stuff like that. So don't just think that we're for like sick, old, decrepit people that are on their last leg. We got to move. We got to quit thinking like that. Like sometimes as brand partners, we think I want to go heal everybody or go make everybody better. That's so sickly, right? And like you said, Dr. Atlee, sometimes they might, the inflammation might subside slightly, so they might have that immediate response, but it takes time for the body to repair and regenerate and to actually heal. It's not going to happen in a sleeve of patches. You need to give it more time. So, don't just think I got to go save all the people that are like half dead. Share with your athlete friends. Share with the peak performers. Share with people that want the competitive edge, right? The ones that are already working out, that want to stay working out, right? And so I think that that's a big message too, because I think sometimes we get caught up in sickness, you know?
Yes. And peak health is peak performance, and peak performance can't be obtained without peak health.
Right.
Which when you get to the elite levels, it becomes the race for recovery. How fast can you recover before the next match?
That's right.
How fast can you recover before the next round? Right. And so those differences are the differences between getting on the podium or not. Right. And so not only energy enhancer for peak performance on the day and at the event, but X39 for maximum recovery and restoration. I tell you, I haven't slept. I remember putting my head on the pillow, but I don't remember anything after that these days. And I wake up full 8 hours later, just completely recharged. It's really wonderful. The systemic and the circadian reset that comes with this. And I think the 12 on, 12 off definitely enhances that and helps to reset neurologically that circadian rhythm. Speaking of which, and I don't want to hog the show, but I just got turned on to the Alavita patch, which I had been avoiding studying because I was like, skin isn't really my line of work. But when I listened to and went deep diving into Dr. Schmidt's seminar on the Alavita patch, what I realized is that the only way he could market it was as a skin cosmetic product. But that activates the pituitary gland. And you and I were talking last time about how when you begin to clean the body out, repair the body, enhance the energetics, start resonating at a higher frequency, it doesn't just enhance your mental and your physical well-being, it also enhances your spirituality. And the pituitary gland has long been renowned as the silver cord or the seat of the spirit. Definitely your sense of relationship to God sits in the pituitary gland. And it shocked me when Dr. Schmidt showed how it activates the pituitary gland and the thermography of the activation of the frontal lobes. This
Okay,
is
I just want to
wonderful
talk.
technology.
Yeah, I want to tell you something that maybe some of you know, maybe some of you haven't learned yet, but I'm going to tell you what, David Schmidt is brilliant. And
Yeah.
yeah, and he undersells everything to protect the company, to protect the patches, to protect us, the brand partners. It's like he undersells it. Like he's not going to come right out and tell you the exact peptide, right? Because if you go Google that, you'd be like, oh my gosh, this thing is like, crazy for fighting certain, diseases. So he never comes right out and tells you the exact thing that it might be activating, but here's what I'm going to tell you. He's underselling them. And what that means is he's not a bragger. He's not, he's not saying, look at all this, data and science. He actually tries to apply very low under the radar. And even in the broadcast, you'll find that he talks about a lot of other supplementation. Then finally, like the last 2 minutes, he talks about the patches. People say, Renita, why does he do that? I'm like, to protect us. That's why he does it, because they're watching him, because they know these healings, these miracles that we're seeing are true, Dr. Atlee. You're seeing them, I'm seeing them, everybody on here seeing them. Like, make no mistake, this is happening. And like you said, if it's not happening, you have to ask yourself a couple questions. Are you being consistent? Is it user error? Number two, are you electrolyte and well hydrated sufficient? Right. And if you're not those things, then you need to do those things. And I guess what? It's probably going to work. Right. And so that's the first thing I always say. They're saying it's not working. I'm like, okay, how's your electrolytes? How's your fluid intake? Right. We got to up that game with that and be very diligent. It's like saying, and then somebody's on here saying, can you talk about sugar? We're not here to talk about sugar. You're wondering what sugar does to your body? Go pour sugar in your gasoline tank and let me know how your car runs. Okay. That's all you need to know about sugar. Okay. It's the same way in the body. It does not run well on candy corn. Okay. So at the end of the day, like, you realize, do I want to survive or do I want to have a peak state? Like, I'm like you, Dr. Atlee, where I'm like, game on. I need all the energy in the house. I want to lift weights. I got to help 50 people today. I got to do 10 Zooms. Like, I'm on it. And if you don't have the energy to do it, everything that we have is a transference of energy. We're all frequency. When you get around people that have great energy, you want to be around them some more, right? And when you get around people that are half dead, we want to help them. We want to help them to repair and rejuvenate and recover. But to hang out long periods of time exhausts people. It's like a transference of electrons, right? That's why I've always said, you better have a healthy hairdresser. And if she's not, get her on the patches. You better have a healthy dentist. Your dentist's not healthy, get him on the patches. You better have a healthy chiropractor. If he's not, get him on the patches. Because we need the people touching our bodies because of that transference of electrons that's happening. We need them to be healthy. And so that's why it's crucial to speak to the people that service us and are in our energy field, touching us, right? Yes. Like, we want them well. We want them thriving, not just surviving with ailments, right, guys? So yeah, Terry Beatley, she's a new senior presidential director. She says, excellent call. That whole line is blowing wide open. I think Tommy Collins is going SPD tonight. We got so many great things happening. So okay, there's not really any questions. Curious by what you mean is waking up. Like, someone says, what waking up? What do you mean by waking up? Well, things are laying dormant. There's things happening in our body, right? Where we have the built-in healing mechanisms. God designed us that way. God designed us to heal. But because of low frequency states, not enough minerals, not enough hydration, we're structural misalignment. Like, we get into all of it, right, Atlee? There's going to be a disruption of the flow of energy. And let's go to LifeWave for a second, because if you guys are on this and you've not tried LifeWave, it's like the magic showdown. Like, you want a magic show? Put LifeWave on somebody that has pain. It's the
party trick. It's amazing. Well, and honestly, that's how I've started to build this business. People are asking me, well, what are you doing? And I am not giving out an X39 without an LifeWave. I have a couple times, and the people have gotten phenomenal results, and they want to buy more X39. But I'm sending them off as a package because it's the LifeWave has the ability to shut down the pain pathway. Again, circuit breaker. I'm flipping the switch, but in this instance, I'm turning it off. Turning off the pain pathway. While with the X39, we're turning on the copper peptide pathway, which rejuvenates, heals, and among other things, activates your stem cell systems.
Wow. So the combination of literally, like, that's like shutting down the inflammation, turning on the healing mechanism. Like people are like one or the other. I say both all day long, right, Atlee?
Right.
Because if you're dealing with somebody that's been in pain for 30 years, if you can prove to them almost instantaneously.
Almost instantaneously. That's not hyperbole.
No, right? It's happening. It
It's
happens.
crazy. But it's
Yeah,
electromagnetics. It's turning off the light bulb.
that's what it is. So if you have that pain, like he said, it's like you're like, I just think of it as like pain is like a bolt, and all you're doing is you're coming in there, like you said, you're just shutting off that circuit breaker for the pain. And it's like, and it's literally miraculous when it happens before your eyes. And you know, sometimes it's not always 100% gone, but when you're taking somebody that's been in 40 years of pain and it's at a 9 and they're down to a 1, they can't believe what's happening. I mean, they're like, how did you do that? Like, so when you say it's a party trick, it's kind of hilarious. But
Can I share?
yeah, go.
I was just camping with the Boy Scouts the other weekend, and one of my assistant scoutmasters a year ago had broken his hip on a scouting outing, and he's got 6 screws in the hip, and of course that's flared up the low back. He walks with a limp. He's gone through physical therapy, but he's in a lot of pain, and he shows up at the camping trip. And I swore to myself I was going to carry these patches everywhere I go. And we're out in the middle of the woods, and I literally said, drop them. And I patched his hip. I stuck an X39 because it was a lower extremity. I put it on the lower abdomen midline. And I then clocked in the hip. And within seconds, the pain is gone. Now, this guy still has 6 screws in the hip.
Right.
Those screws didn't go away, but his pain is turned off. He was astounded. Well, in the middle of the night, he doesn't have any hip pain, but he's rolling around in his cot and he's got back pain. He tells me the next morning, he was having his back pain. All of a sudden, it came to his mind, I've got these patches on my hip. So he moves them from the hip to his back, and boom, turns off the back pain.
Wow, wow, wow.
And that's a tool that we have not had. You asked me, what separates this from my laser? What separates this from my PEMF mat? What separates this from my ultrasound or all the other modalities? Well, especially with the LifeWave, it's the speed of relief. Because wow. and that's your foot into the door, because when you can turn someone's pain off right then and there, they're willing to listen to what you got to say. And
it's literally the speed of light. That's what it is. Speed of the light. It's the speed of light. It's working at the speed of light, you guys. Remember how we always heard that, the speed of light? Like, this is literally what's happening with that LifeWave. So if you have not had an experience with LifeWave, you need to have an LifeWave experience. I'm convinced of it.
And whose parents aren't suffering? Who doesn't have pain? But you know, like you said, we do stem cell therapy in my practice, and it's an expensive procedure. It's premium cost and premium product and premium procedure with premium outcomes. But unfortunately, 90% of the population that I'm seeing can't afford to do that. And I never had a mechanism to be able to help people at a entry-level affordable price. And this is wonderful. It's just wonderful.
I love it. I love it. Any other questions over there for Dr. Atlee tonight? Let me see what we got. She said she's purchased, there's just so many. I can't even get to all of them over here. The nerve, yeah. Hey, listen, if your hairstylist has nerve damage, you're going to want to get her up to par, because again, like I said today, those hairstylists, they need a plan B, because eventually their hands are arthritic from like curling the hair. So we got to get them going on that. She said, this gal goes, I heard LifeWave is stronger than morphine. Listen, we don't make any medical claims on here. We don't treat, cure, prevent disease. We're not your doctors. Talk to your doctor. Your doctor may or may not know. If you have an excellent doctor like Dr. Atlee or other doctors that are in LifeWave, then they'll know. But if you have another type of doctor, you might want to consider a new doctor that might be researching something like this and getting in the know with health and healing.
I'd say this about that, though. The morphine that your body makes is infinitely stronger than the morphine that they're able to push at the ER.
Wow.
So at the end of the day, being able to access your own pharmacopoeia in your body is ultimately where it's at. So we've never had the ability to turn on and off these types of pathways. And for my, once again, Christian brethren out there, I consider this the anti-transhumanistic modality. Transhumanism and CRISPR technology, where you're trying to enhance genes by changing genes. I am not in favor of that. That is not a good idea. But this is optimizing your genetic potential. So we talked about it earlier, being asleep. These types of pathways and genes are either turned on or off, just like your circuit breaker. And as we get older, a lot of our rejuvenative genes get turned off.
Right.
And we've never had an ability to turn them back on. And now we do. And Dr. Schmidt was smart enough to patent each individual one of them and make a patch for each individual, physiological pathway. But we can now put a personalized patch protocol for people, depending on what it is that they're suffering from, and really turn on the specific healing pathways, shut down the pain pathways, and really create a personalized protocol that's going to get very fast results with people. And really, we've seen life change in a very short amount of time.
Yeah. We see it again and again. And somebody asked, does it work for long-term pain? I will tell you this, many years ago, I used to travel the planet and certify instructors to teach 25 different modalities of fitness. So I got to travel everywhere. It was so much fun. A lot of tropical destinations. But one time I was down in California teaching a kickboxing certification to about 60 people. The first kick, I popped my hamstring. And I mean, it was literally like, I'm 46. So I had to be like 22. And so that's how old that injury has been. Doesn't bother me unless I sprint, and I like to sprint. And so whenever I sprint or run on the treadmill fast or run up a hill, because I think I'm still 14, then it bothers me. Well, it bothered me so much for so many years, you guys. We live in Bismarck. Our son was going to college in Fargo, which is a 3-hour drive. I would start the driving with my Honda hybrid, and I'd get about 30 miles out of Bismarck to a place called Steele, North Dakota. And I'd say to my husband, you got to drive. I can't put my foot on the gas pedal to hold it. He's like, put the cruise on. I'm like, I don't want to use the cruise. There's too much road construction. In North Dakota, there's always road construction. But anyway, and so in the summer months especially, because it's so
I would hope so.
Yeah, constant. But anyway, long story short, I would have to, I could drive like 20 miles. And my hamstring would be like burning right where my leg connects to my butt cheek. And here it was, I was on the patch for about 2 months, and I made 2 Mayo Clinic trips with my dad, where I drove the entire distance, 9 hours there, 9 hours back. And it wasn't until my way back where I thought, oh my gosh, I don't feel my hamstring. So you asked, does it help with old injuries? That was a 25-year-old injury that I no longer feel. I live on a neighborhood where there's a hill about 3 blocks down. Every day I go sprint it now. I'm a sprinter up hills. I'm just like, come on, let's go. Activate all those great hormones that are going to help me stay young. But the point is I do it every single day. Every single day I sprint up the hill. Before, I'd sprint for 1 day, and then it would hurt me for 2.5 weeks. It would take me a long time to get better. That is gone, and that was a very, very, very old injury. So when you ask that question, I think the LifeWave will work on acute things, but I really believe with the long-term use of these patches, especially X39, you're going to restore some old damage that may have been there a while. So hopefully that answers your question. Someone is saying, I did not know we have our own pain relief patch. Yes, talk to your sponsor. So what else? My 80-year-old dad shattered his right knee in the car accident in 76. 2 days after X39, the feeling came back. 57 years later. Sometimes when people put the patch on, they start to get tingling. And, I tell them, I think it's the nerves coming back. I never get too excited or worried about it, because a lot of these people haven't had feeling for a long, long time. And I'm like, what does it feel like when something wakes up? Right? There's probably, at least you got some energy coming back into that you've not felt for a long time. What are your thoughts on that? Do you ever have you talked before? Go ahead.
Especially with neuropathies. I used to be in a practice that specialized in reversing peripheral neuropathies. And when the nerve is dead and you begin to regenerate it through these bioelectrical modalities, oftentimes the first symptom was the last symptom that you felt, which usually is burning. And so sometimes, you know, patient comes back, goes, my feet are on fire. And yes, that's great news. Is it showing that we're actually regenerating the nerves? So oftentimes in healing, especially when you're ill, you may feel worse first. When you put on one of these patches and you begin to detoxify, you begin to heal cells, you begin to shed dead cells, dead viruses and things of that nature, especially if you don't have enough water and electrolytes to flush those dead cells and viruses and toxins out of the body. You are pulling them out of the cells back into the bloodstream to get rid of them. And if you don't have the proper hydration or electrolytes, you're definitely going to feel a little fluey or a little immune compromised because you're redosed again with the bad stuff to eliminate it so that ultimately you can move beyond it and heal.
So let's tell them in the middle of that, the last thing I would do is stop everything and go back to eating fast food. I would, I would like, that is the time to love yourself, nurture yourself, climb in a warm Epsom salt soak, you know, just start loving up on yourself with fluids, warm fluids, you know, get those electrolytes in. You know, if it gets really intense for you during that detox phase, I would say, you know, take the patch off sooner. Don't wear it for full 12 hours, right? Maybe wear it for 6 and see how your body does. But the last thing you want to do is throw your hands up in the air and say, well, that didn't work. My symptoms got way worse when I got on the patch. Listen to what Dr. Atlee is saying. You may get worse before you get better, right? You may get worse because the body, like you said, has to shed. I love how you said that. It has to shed those dead old cells and toxins that are in there, right?
And what we're looking for initially is change, right? Change can be positive or negative, but you've been trying everything under the sun over decades, and you've had these symptoms. Most people have had these symptoms for a long time. By the time people get to me in my facility, I'm the last person on the merry-go-round. And so what you're looking for is a change. And even if you are feeling worse at first, that I want you to understand that's not necessarily a negative sign. And especially with certain types of illnesses and toxicities, it would be expected because we got to pull that stuff out. And so, yes, you can feel lethargic and drained at first, depending on how hard you're detoxing. Too much too fast can create unpleasant experiences. So just back off. But remember, the antidote is water. The antidote is electrolytes, right? And oftentimes, as Miss Renita preaches from the rafters, just throwing down some water and electrolytes oftentimes is all you need to all of a sudden bring you right back to life. Because literally, that's what you were missing, was the conductivity within your body.
That's it right there, the conductivity in the body. And so as soon as you restore that, it's like everything changes for people. So let me see. Some people say, would you encourage? So I believe in detox pathways. I'm sure you talk that language too, Dr. Atlee. So I believe in, you got to be pooping good. You got to be making sure that your kidneys and urination is good. You got to be sweating. You got to breathe. Deep breathing is so good. And a lot of times when structurally people's lungs are weak because they're like taking these little shallow breaths, you got to breathe and open up that chest and start expanding and take deep breaths through the nose, deep breaths through the mouth. Work those lungs so that they get strong. Even if you're not exercising, you can do that sitting in a chair, my friends, right? You could be detoxing and say, you know what? I feel like complete hell, but I'm going to breathe. And then you just start breathing and you drink your electrolytes. And guess what? It's going to start helping. So remember, you have detox pathways. If you're not pooping, if you're the person pooping once every 5 days and you're starting to detox hard, I would say that you need to open up that poop chute detox pathway before you keep pushing out the toxins at a cellular level, right? Atlee, I think that it's very important to make sure you're having proper bowel movements. Make sure that like you're going at least once, more would be better, times a day. But the elderly, I know, I deal with elderly people. Yeah, so, go ahead.
If we're not detoxifying and we're not eliminating, then we get auto intoxication, meaning we're creating toxicity within ourselves. because we can't get it out. It's just like if I didn't take the trash out of my house and I just let the trash bags accumulate, after a week or so, there's going to be some things growing around the building. And the same thing happens inside your body. So elimination is absolutely essential. And if you are not eliminating at least once a day, one of my first aid remedies is adding butter, organic whole butter, to your diet. Butter is 2% butyrate, which is the natural secretions of your gastrointestinal tract.
Yeah. Wow.
And so it greases the chain, so to speak. Now, once again, I come from an era and training, healthcare training, where they taught you to stay away from butter, stay away from cholesterol and all these other things, and that those would kill you. But the reality is you need the right fats. And without them, you will die a very painful death. And so having the right fats, which create the cellular walls of all of your cells, which are absolutely critical to being able to create the capacity or the capacitor of the cells to hold the energy, the cellular energy. So you got to have that barrier, that cell wall of the right fats, so that the electrical charge and transmission can take place. When we eat those,
this is like the Lux capacitor. This is like Back to the Future.
The flux capacitor. That's right. I love it. But you know what? It's true. It's all the transfer of electrons.
Wait a second. They were waiting for lightning, because lightning is electrons. And
That's
when
right.
lightning hit the thing and the car, they could go back. Remember that whole thing, guys?
And it shunts down the cord, and now
there it is. Lightning is electrons. Lightning is the biggest electron charge on the planet. It actually recharges the planet when we have when you have lightning in your area. It's actually great. It's like you feel it in the air. Have you gone out after a lightning storm? It's like you can feel the energy in the air.
And you can smell the ozone, right?
You can smell the ozone. And I'm crazy about ozone.
And I'm from Miami, Florida, and so I love the electrical storms coming in off of the bay. But that's the way the earth cleanses itself. The earth is a big cell, and the earth cleanses itself by lightning strikes on the ocean water, which is salt water. It's got its minerals, it's got its electrolytes, and when it does that,
say it again. What happens with the lightning?
The way that the earth, it's the truth. It's the way that the earth cleanses itself is through lightning strikes on the ocean. The saline solution of the salt water creates the electrical conductivity that when the lightning strikes the water, it splits the water molecule into hydrogen and hydroxyls. Now that hydrogen is the greatest antioxidant in the universe. That hydrogen runs the sun. That hydrogen runs the mitochondria of your cells. At the end of the day, the little dirty secret is that all the food that you eat, outside of taking the minerals and the fiber out, your body just wants the water to break the hydrogen bond, to get the energy to run the ATP and the mitochondrial energy cycle in the cell. That hydrogen can blow up Hiroshima. That hydrogen could light up Atlanta. That hydrogen could run your car, and that hydrogen is what runs your cells. So that's how the body cleanses itself, and it's how you cleanse yourself too. And it's just a small microcosm of why you need water and electrolytes.
And guess what? It's so funny that they told us to quit consuming salt. And isn't this funny that salt is one of the biggest purifiers in our body, to cleanse our bodies, to help detoxify the cells, to do all these things. And they told us on purpose, Atlee, to stop consuming salt. Now, I'm not a believer in Redmond's, or excuse me, like the iodized salt. I like a Redmond's real salt, or a Celtic salt, or, a very good, rich Himalayan salt, not anything that full of plastic. So you got to watch yourself. But, they told us to eliminate salt, and they told us to eliminate butter. Butter makes up the cell wall, the booty rate. Give me some booty rate. I call it booty because I can think of my booty. Booty rate. So
if you eat your butter, you'll actually burn your body fat and you'll have a nice booty.
That's right. I tell everybody, if you want to lose fat, eat fat. Anyway, so booty rate. So they told us to stop eating the butter. They told us to stop consuming the salt. Booty rate protects the cells. The cellular wall is made of fat, like you talked about. And inside the cell, in order to have the cell cleansing, we need proper spark or electrolyte balance. And they told us to quit eating salt. Haven't you figured this out yet? Like, this is such easy stuff that we're talking about at a certain point. Put the patch on, hydrate yourself, get more sunshine, get electrolytes, and you guys start earthing, like do the things that are going to restore you and pull you back to nature's design, to God's design. God designed us to be in touch with one another, with the earth, with things of the earth, things of an energetic nature. And so it's very easy once you understand like how the healing happens. And if you don't know, then you should read this book. Healing is voltage. Healing is voltage. See it, everybody?
It's a big read, but
oh, it's heavy duty. But you know what? When you open it, it's just like, ta-da! Like, for those of you that are saying, wow, I've never known that cancer is a positive 30. I've never known that optimal health is negative 25 and that the body can heal pretty much anything at negative 50. And so it's like, that is incredible when you hear people that have the diseases and they go all in and they get really radical. That's why I've always said, if you're in a really severe disease state, the patch is going to kind of pull you out of that slight inflammation. But Dr. Atlee's right. It's going to take time. It's going to take consistency. It's going to take change probably, right? Because something got you to that sickness state. So you're going to have to change something in order to get to the wellness state or moving in the direction where your body can actually restore and rebuild. So let's see. This blew this lady away. It's a whole world of knowledge. Yeah, once you step into this where you understand the flow of the body, the positive, negative, you're like, OMG. I actually homeschool the kids, and we are going to go through an entire month of eating electron-rich food, right? So we've already started juicing every single morning, you know, just like all the organic produce and ginger and celery and everything great. But we are literally going to start recording. I'm actually going to buy a volt, what's it called? One of those voltmeters things where you,
awesome.
Yep, I'm going to buy a voltmeter because I like to measure.
Yes.
I'm going to buy a voltmeter, and we're going to be measuring like the food that we're consuming. It's going to be like their homeschool to teach them to eat electron-rich food, because that, for some people, think about this, Dr. Atlee, the electrons come from the earth, right? They come from electrolytes. They come from our healthy food, our fruits and vegetables, right? They come from the sun. Yes. They come from the elements, being in mountain air, ocean air, all this kind of stuff. Think about people that don't have any of that stuff.
Sure.
And their eating is shitty. Let's say their eating is just like complete garbage. Like, they just eat like crap. And then they put the patch on and they're like, why aren't I having a miracle? But I'm here to tell you, you may have a small miracle if you just increase the hydration and increase your electrolytes. Keep wearing it and keep moving in the direction of the healing. Like, you want to get in alignment with the miracle. You want to get in alignment with the electron-rich flow, because when we're more electron-rich, guess what happens? What happens, Dr. Atlee, when we're full of electrons?
Well, then you've got electrons to give. You're electron rich. So now you can donate electrons. That's called antioxidation, right? That's actually rejuvenation. That's getting younger. That's anti-aging, right? So you want as many electrons as possible so that you have electrons to give oxidized tissues and cells. And to reverse that, not only will that reverse diseased cells, but that will also reverse your biological age, separate from your chronological age.
Take a good look at me now, because I'm doing the experiment. I'm patching. I'm doing a lot of things right, but you're going to see me. You're going to be like, is Renita 20? Is Renita?
Well, I was wondering that anyways. And 6 weeks ago, I would have said, well, how does this woman have this type of energy? But now I have a good clue. Because these patches, the energetics are just absolutely phenomenal. Now, can I touch quickly on, you mentioned fast food. So yes. I really want to circle back to that, because that is a major impediment to our energetics. Because one, not only is fast food chock full of stabilizers and chemicals, they're synthetics, they're alien chemicals that your body does not recognize, that are synthetic and toxic to the body first. But secondly, they're chock full of the bad fats. And remember, you need the fats to build your cell walls. And your body's going to use what you've given it to use. So if you've got bad fats, these hydrogenated oils, peanut oils, vegetable oils, everything that the restaurants are using, you could go and spend $400 on a premium steakhouse. And the problem is that premium food was just cooked in rancid inflammatory oil.
I say this
And
all the
when
time to
you
my
eat
husband.
that,
I say this
when you,
all the time.
well, when you
You
eat
see, my,
that
my
you've
husband tells
given,
me that the more I've learned, the less fun I've become.
I wouldn't
Anyway,
dare say that.
but we need the
But it
cell
can't
health.
damper things because it is dark out there, and you got to look at why. And the reality is that when you eat these bad fats, then they plasticate your cell walls. They turn them into plastic, and plastic does not conduct electricity.
Say
So
it again,
instead of
guys. Plastic does not conduct electricity. Are you getting this?
So we're getting plasticated, if that's a word, through all the bottles and whatnot, but really through the oils as well. And the oils in our modern food supply that allow for stabilization and for shelf life. And those, when we consume them, our body begins to make new cells with those fats, and those fats do not conduct electricity. And so literally they turn your cells to plastic. And then we get mitochondrial disease processes and energetic problems, autoimmune, chronic fatigue, fibromyalgia, chronic pain, and acidification, because the cell can't fire, the engine can't fire because it doesn't have a spark plug, because you've just saran wrapped your cells.
Wow. 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 You guys, did you get that? We just saran wrap ourselves. What an analogy you just gave, Dr. Atlee. Incredible.
It's it's a horrible epidemic, and obviously the human species is suffering from it, and we're not alone. The animal kingdom's suffering from it too.
Wow, wow. You guys, okay. How do we unplastic our cells? Somebody wants to know. I'm gonna grab my plug and you can answer
that. Well, one of the modalities that has been proven to remove plastics from the deep tissue is far infrared therapy, and specifically far infrared saunas. But guess what these patches run on? They run on your far infrared signal that your body emits. So I believe that these modalities are very helpful. These patches are very helpful in removing that. But the answer to your question is getting the right minerals in you, getting the right fats. You can overcome the bad fats by increasing the good fats. So I've even, just to let you know, since our conversation, I've totally revisited these same books. And now I'm taking a shot of olive oil once or twice a day. Just to,
it's the best thing for pain. Olive oil and salt.
Yes.
You take olive oil and salt at the same time, like incredible for pain management, you guys. It's wild. If you would come to my house, like my kids sometimes think I'm a little wild, and I am. But if you'd come to my house, like about 3 years ago, I started this. I'd line them up in the kitchen, and I'm like, everybody needs your teaspoon of olive oil for the day. And of course, you buy good quality olive oil. I always like to buy Italian olive oil, especially now that I've been to Italy. But like and I thought to myself, you know why the people of Sardinia live so long? Did we have this conversation, Atlee? Because of this was the doctor, another doctor friend of mine.
Because of the
we went to Sardinia. And we went this trip. Well, the potassium, the sodium and potassium balance is why no one has heart problems in Sardinia. They all live to be 110 because they all put Celtic salt on their tomatoes and eat tomato sauce like it's going out of style. And then there's olives galore. Every meal I had olives. I was in heaven. And olive oil on everything. You're just dumping olive oil and arugula. They call it rocket there.
Yep.
I love rocket. So rocket, I put rocket on everything. Rocket on pizzas. Rocket on. This morning we made potatoes in olive oil. We put rocket on top, right? Arugula on everything because it's good for enzymes. But the point is like, if you guys learn these simple concepts, it's things like this that they food really is medicine.
It is,
and it will aid in the effectiveness of the patches. It actually will help the patches to work more efficiently, quicker, all those things, because your body becomes a more energetic. Like, it's instead of you being like a deadhead where you're just trying to bring this dead body back to life, you actually are bringing kind of some life back into the body, and you're assisting that process of that electro-frequency that should be happening that maybe hasn't happened for a while, right?
And vice versa, I would say, because when you use these types of patches and these modalities, that they electrify, amplify, and alkalinize, help to alkalinize the body. And all of a sudden your food cravings change, because we're either spiraling upward or we're spiraling downward, right? But you're never staying the same. And so you put a little bit of a change. This is a change in the energetics. And all of a sudden you begin to spiral upward and you get a little bit more energy. Maybe not immediately like Renita here. She's been doing these patches for a long time and has an extraordinary amount of energy. But we put these patches on people and they immediately report. It's as if they've been amplified. They feel an energetics to them. And then they all of a sudden begin to crave the better foods, because that's what the body needs. When you're running on that sugar, carbohydrate, 2 miles to the gallon, and you're just going up and down the roller coaster, the reason why you always need another snack is because you never got the nutrient that your body originally needed. So your mind is continuing to tell you to go back to the cupboard, because you never got the nutrition. You never got the vitamins or the minerals. You got the carbs, and it spiked you up, and then you crash.
Right.
Now here, once again, it just changes the energetic pathways, turns on the metabolic pathways, begins to use oxygen and use energy properly, the way the body was designed to. And all of a sudden, your body begins to work the way it was designed to.
Oh, hang on a second. We got somebody talking. Everything you're saying, I'm like, it's like right up. Hang on a second. Let me mute everybody. I'll mute you again. Back on. I'll mute everybody, then I'll unmute you again. But yeah, you're exactly right. It's when you look at all the stuff that we've covered tonight, I'll just be honest, it's unbelievable. For the average person, they're going to be like, what was that? Right? We thought we got them for patches. Well, we want you patching because we know that is a simple, affordable tool that all of us can do. There's not a person on here that cannot patch. Like, all of us can patch. Someone was asking about their 13 and 14-year-old. Absolutely, I'd be putting this on my children. There's no question about it. 51% of children now have childhood diseases. Why is that? Could be the vaccines, could be the food supply, could be the contamination of 5G. Maybe it's all of it. Do you think that this is going to help change the frequency of just old adults? No, this helps to restore and regenerate no matter what age. So if you have a young person who is an athlete, I mean, I love it. My son, Bo, he's a senior presidential director in this business, and he's 23 years young. And guess what he did? He patches athletes. Yeah. Why? Because many athletes that he deals with, they don't want to be on ibuprofen anymore because now their stomach hurts, right? They have leaky gut because they've taken so damn much ibuprofen and they're tired of it. And so they're looking for alternative solutions, right? So he actually goes after the athletes. So if you're watching this and you've got young athletes, absolutely, you should be patching them. No question. All right. What else do we want to say? Everybody, I mean, we could go all night. We could go all night.
That's why we do these only once every 6 weeks.
You hit him with a fire hose, right? Great info. This was a year of med school. Yeah, right. Actually, it's probably more than that, because
you won't find it in med school.
Yeah, I was going to say, unfortunately, they're not teaching these concepts in med school, which is why, interesting, when I read the book, how he began that, right? He started talking about that, how, it all comes through seeking, right? When we start to seek, in the Bible, it says, when you seek, you will find. And so just how you prayed, and then you found this book, and you were praying for a solution, I'm sure, for your mom and dad, because we want our aging parents to feel well and to be healthy. And so I'm so grateful. I'm so happy. That's the best news of the night. That it helped your mom and dad.
And so if I could just share the most impressive thing for me clinically in the last 6 weeks using these LifeWave products is the combination of the IceWave and the X39. So some people have asked me, well, how do you talk to people about these products? People find out that it's a MLM company and then I get shut down. The reality is I don't talk to people at all about the company, and I don't talk to them about the product. I've been sending X39 and IceWave to my select individuals, not telling them anything about it, just that I've got a new product that I would like them to try. And I don't tell them anything about it until they've tried it. And then I want their response and their feedback. And with the IceWave gives the ability to get almost, if not instantaneous, jaw-dropping relief right then and there. that is your foot in the door. The X39 is a healing process that will take for some people days to, some people hours to get results, some people days. I've had some people it took 3 weeks. So honestly, that if that person didn't know me or have the trust value for me, they may have dropped off the program within 3 weeks of not seeing results. But the LifeWave gives you the ability to get that fast acknowledgement, the validation. This works. And but I tell them that the LifeWave isn't healing you; it's just shutting off the pain pathway. This one heals you, and I slap on the X39. I mean, most of the people that I've done that with have all come back wanting more.
I love it. I love it. So now you guys have the tip of the century. I know that you talked earlier about that. Tell me his name. The doctor that is on the East Coast, the chiropractor, sponsored by Terry Beatley as well.
Oh, Dr. Nick.
Dr. Nick Campanella. Yeah,
Yeah,
he's amazing.
Campanella. I mispronounced his last name. I'm sorry.
And he, no problem. But he actually started with X39 and then realized the keys to the kingdom was LifeWave, because he was patching all these people that were coming into his clinic that had all this pain, and X39 did not always work right away, right? We know that. Sometimes it takes time for the X39 to work. We do have one patch miracles. We do have 3-day patch miracles, but most generally it takes time. And so he figured out that he was going to actually put the X39 on them, but then he would say, hey, where's your pain at right now? Like, point to your worst spot of pain on your body. And then he'd use a set of LifeWave and the pain would be gone.
Yes.
And then they were basically like, his patients were like, whatever you just did, I'm going to need a lot more of that. Tell me how I get more of that, because I don't ever want to be in that pain again. And you just made me pain free. And so that is literally how he's growing his business, hand over fist, right? He's been featured on the news a couple times out east.
Yeah.
He's just been really like in the trenches, patching people. It's changed the entire way he said has been practicing his business. You know what I mean? So from a business standpoint, if there are business people watching tonight, I mean, Dr. Leland Stillman, another friend of mine, he's an MD. He says the same thing. He actually is sending me an overview, and it's not confidential because it's anonymous, but he has every single patient that has been using the X-Wave patches, X39 patches, and tells you exactly their result. And he's like, it's overwhelmingly amazing and unbelievable. Like he said, I see more in 7 days of patching these people than they saw in 6 months of coaching with me and working with me. But so the point is he's kind of like you, where he's like unbelievable results. And now he's documenting them, right? And so this is what we see again and again, you guys. So this is like the doctors that are really the dossiers, which means to educate. The doctors, that was where the word comes from, is dossier, the Greek word dossier, which means to teach. If your doctors are actually teaching you something, they probably should know about the patches. Tell them about the patches, because they're probably going to be interested. If they're not teaching you anything and they're just writing prescriptions, they may not be interested, right? You want to look for the ones that are seeking and teaching, because those are the ones that really want their patients well. You know, so Dr. Atlee, final words.
Well, and then I would say doctors may be tough to approach, but treat the spouse. You know, you get the result with the spouse and they'll come along. Because I don't know a woman over 40 that sleeps through the night that isn't on silent night sleep patches, but those work. And, you know, people who are in pain, and, the cobbler's wife doesn't get shoes, and the doctor's wife is always in pain. And that's the patient that the doctor usually doesn't want to treat because they haven't been able to get them well. So if you can get the spouse right, then the doctor will usually come along. But all doctors right now are being crunched from all angles, from insurance reimbursements. Healthcare has become a bad business model, and the people that are really in it for the right reasons are struggling. But we've never had a tool like this, right, that I can rely on, that I could actually put my name on, and know that if you're not getting the result, either you're not hydrated and you're not electrolyted, or you got them in the wrong spot. And those are really the 3 common denominators. And so over the last 6 weeks, with my initial month in LifeWave, I got to tell you, I have not only seen real life change in people from across the spectrum of illness that are not of similarity, but the only similarity is the healing experience that they're having, and the only common denominator are the patches. And that's
Wow.
what makes a doctor go, there's something to this. And so I would encourage people that if you have not tried the patches, try the patches. If you've not tried the pain patch, get some for yourself or for your loved one, just as an experiment. You're going to go on an adventure because now you have the ability to help other people. You don't have to be a doctor. You don't have to be an acupuncturist. I don't need to prescribe something. I just need to care to share. And I've helped so many people in my immediate sphere. That's amazing, that I would never have been able to help through my practice. And it's just been wonderful. So I'm so excited. Thanks for letting me share with you.
Oh, we
I'd
gotta
love
do
to
it again.
Yeah.
We have it looks like we have Dr. Nick Campanel's daughter on this, and she said, yep, I'm Dr. Nick's daughter, and he's truly changing minds and changing lives every day at his office and sharing so much so that we can replicate it. I mean, this is real. This is really happening. The miracles are happening. I always say, use my miracles until you get your own, and then I want to steal yours too, because I tell you what, just like fear is contagious, so is faith. Just like sadness is contagious, so is joy. And the joy of the Lord is my strength. And I tell you what, we are at a special time in our lives right now to be able to share this technology. So don't wait another minute. If you're thinking about somebody right now, if you don't have the LifeWave, like Dr. Atlee said, get yourself the LifeWave so you can use yourself as the scientific experiment first, or a loved one that you're thinking of. Do not hesitate. Don't wait one more day to stop the healing and to stop helping somebody that you love and care about, because we're all thinking of people. As you talk, I'm like, you know what? I gotta reach out. You know, as people are commenting over here, I think, oh, I gotta reach out to that person. It just happens. It's human nature. When we hear someone's success story, we think of people that we love and care about, that we want that same success.
That's
right?
the Holy Spirit.
So that's the Holy Spirit, you guys. So let's just pray and we'll end this. We'll do another one in about 6 weeks, because we know that you guys can only handle us about once every 6 weeks. Father God, in the mighty name of Jesus, we just are so thankful to be gathered here together. Where two or more gathered in your precious name, there you are. You are here in our presence, Lord. We love you, Lord Jesus. We love that you've been guiding Dr. Atlee, the Holy Spirit living in him, guiding him on his journey of health and wellness and healing and energy medicine and helping others to be well. We're so grateful he's part of our team. And we're so grateful that he's just sharing the good word and the good knowledge of what he's learning, and this technology. So simple, so easy, so affordable. We just ask for just open floodgates of heaven for people that we're seeing in the next few days, that we come across, people that we know that are praying for this technology. Maybe it's the health aspect, maybe it's a loved one that needs the health, maybe it's the financial opportunity, maybe it's all of it, God. We just pray right now for just open the floodgates of heaven to open and to pour out those people on our path. So they're behind us, in front of us, next to us, wherever we are, there they are. And let us be loving and kind, and use discernment to share this incredible technology with them, Lord. We know that you've given us a spirit of love and of a sound mind, and help us to share that technology with others. Help us to be brave and courageous and fearless when it comes to something that works so well for so many people. We love you, Jesus. We give you all the glory for all these miraculous healings that are happening physically and financially all over the world. And we know the very best is yet to come. We do this all in your mighty name, Jesus. We love you, Lord. Everybody have a great night.
Amen, amen.
Thank you, Dr.
Thank you so
Atlee.
much. God bless you. I enjoyed
God bless
it.
you. God
Thank
bless your
you.
family.
Yes,
Bye-bye,
ma'am, and yours
everybody.
as well. Thank
Have
you,
a great night,
everybody.
everybody. Yes, it was recorded. We'll post it in the group. Take care.